Hello and welcome to the Dominion Daily for March 24th, 2026. We've got a Plunder Kingdom and it looks it with all that yellow and orange. And we get cursed again. We had cursed over the weekend. And we've got specifically cursed Grotto. Grotto's already a card that you want, so that's a little terrifying. We've got Rope and Crucible for trashing, plus, potentially Prize Goat. And then Grotto isn't trashing, but it acts kind of like thinning, among other things. For actions, Swamp Shacks and Wealthy Village, you can also flagship one of those for even more actions. So there's a lot of actions available. For draw, it looks like in terms of net draw, there's just Swamp Shacks. So Rope can give you duration draw, but it's a stop card on the turn you see it. Grotto can give you duration draw, but you've got to have, stuff in your hand to set aside. I mean, it's still a very powerful effect, don't get me wrong, but it isn't really draw exactly. Yeah, if you get enough stuff in play, then Swamp Shacks can draw, and that definitely seems like a doable thing. There's a lot of durations that can make your Swamp Shacks draw a lot of cards, so I think Swamp Shacks will be a pretty important card here ultimately, just not something you're looking to pick up early. In terms of gains, Rope gives plus buy, Abundance gives plus buy. There's loot from Wealthy Village, there's loot from Foray, there's loot from Cursed. So lots of potential gains. And then there's also like some stuff with potentially with Kings caching that. So yeah, the payload is potentially quite powerful. There's also cursing with Trickster. With there being a cursed pile that's already a good card, I don't know. And not only that, but a card that helps you deal with curses. I don't know that Trickster is going to be super relevant, but anyway, my initial thought here is to open Rope, Grotto, both get started on thinning some of the junk and also get a loot into the deck and get the Grotto thing going. Normally, I would say double Grotto is not generally the way to go in the opening, but I could see that being correct here. Because the deck is going to be fatter than it normally would be with a Grotto opening, and it's not going to be as straightforward to say like, well, you see your first Grotto and then you set some cards aside and you buy another Grotto because you're going to have like the loot in the deck and all that stuff. But I still think I want to get the Rope into the deck and not take two curses right off the bat. Doubloons. That is not really what I wanted, but okay. The bot, of course, does open double Grotto. What else would we expect? We've actually got 5 and could actually activate Wealthy Village. I don't actually know if there's too much point to that. Man, I have a 15 card deck because of that double. That's insane. Yeah, activating Wealthy Village in general is probably not going to be very difficult here. Huh. I'm wondering about just getting another Rope. And And then maybe we get another grotto next turn. Although we've got the plus buy now. But if we don't... If we see our grotto next turn, right, then that would be a good time to add another grotto. We don't see the grotto and we do see the doubloons. That's going to be pretty annoying. Yeah. I think I'm still just going to take another rope. Yeah. Oh, okay. There we go. So there's definitely a case to be made here for trashing copper over estate for a couple reasons. One is just points. This is going to pile quickly, and having the points could be relevant. Another is foray, having the variety of cards if we want to activate that. I don't know that that's like the most important thing, but I think I'm gonna do it. Grotto 2 estates, get another grotto. Oh my god, the bot is going so hard after the grottos. I want that to be incorrect. I don't know that it is. We could get a King's Cash. We need an Amphora. We do have a plus buy loot. Also, King's Cashing Rope would not be bad. Sure, I guess. Okay. I want this for now. Do we want one more grotto? Like, having 3 grottos going for a while seems like it might be useful. Of course, we will also add more crap to the deck. So we could go, like, we could just go rope grotto. Sure. Spell scroll. At least we got the Amphora. Hammer, no! Oh, that's not right. Okay, There is fortunately no, like, low third pile yet. I wonder if it's already correct to take a Swamp Shacks. 3 grottos, we have 3 ropes, we have the Amphora. That's not a ton of stuff. Some stuff. Could just take a flagship. Although I don't want a flagship grotto particularly. Could also just take another rope. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Okay. Let's go... Yeah, let's continue to keep the estates, I think. Annoyingly, we got the King's Cash and no plus buy. Hooray. We could just take a province. I don't know what we're gonna do with that spell scroll. I mean, potentially Swamp Shacks. Hmm. Uh. Wait, did the bot also get a spell scroll? When did that happen? Let's see that. And what did it do with it? I just I don't know that this deck is ever going to come together in a way where we shouldn't buy a province now. The bot has no trashing, so it's just like sitting on all those curses. For the moment, at least. Right, it has no prize goat. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take a province. Don't have any ropes in play to trash these curses, damn it! Sequencing. Well, Spell Scroll is not actually doing a whole lot here. Surprise, surprise, I guess. Is this all? This is all of our curses? We're not going to be able to trash any of them next turn either? God damn it. I guess we could take a Crucible with the Spell Scroll and trash a curse. But probably it's better to just grotto them. We've got King's Cash Amphora. That's good. See two of our ropes here. We do have two more ropes down there. We're gonna see at least one rope next turn. We could take a Trickster, and then we could Trickster set aside the King's Cash. And that would allow us to line that up with like the doubloons next turn. There is some very loud beeping going on outside. I hope that's not coming through. What the heck that is. I think I like that. I mean, for one thing, also giving the bot the curse is nice. I have 11 coins this turn. We buy another province. We could consider getting the last grotto. Not sure what else we do with 3 coins anyway. Hey, a plus buy loot. But we are going to trigger a shuffle here. Okay, I don't think it makes sense to trash copper at this point that we can grotto. But we could trash a copper that we can't grotto. How much money are we going to have? 5 and 9 is 14 or 15. Well, 15 doesn't really do anything. See, I guess we might as well trash the copper. Take a province, and then do we just take a duchy, or do we do any pile lowering? Probably just the duchy. I don't think the bot is actually really threatening to do too much here. We might not need the duchy. Could also take a wealthy village, I guess. Four cards set aside. We're going to draw 6 cards from the grotto plus the ropes. So we're not going to quite trigger a shuffle. In terms of how much payload we have, like for next turn, it's not going to matter. But the wealthy village plus loot might get us something useful for the turn after for our reach on provinces. Yeah. Oh, we might get to trash versus here. Bot's buying copper. Oh, okay. Yes, indeed, I will trash some curses. I guess you could argue. I didn't realize I had the second grotto. Did I draw that with the? No, I just didn't notice. Okay. Maybe a mistake, actually. Well, although we weren't really buying anything anyway here. I'm gonna next turn the Amphora, I guess, and then Trickster set aside the copper. I think. And then maybe we grotto the grotto. And that gives us a chance to... better chance to trash the curse. Well... Could also Trickster set aside the M4 and buy foray. But we don't have... That does hurt our draw for next turn. Oh, we could set aside a rope. Okay, hold on. I hadn't noticed that. I want to do that. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means we should do that and that. And set aside a rope that way. Okay. We've got King's Cash plus buy loot. Do we... I doubt we have 20 coins, though. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13... Yeah. 17... Okay. So... It's definitely not ideal to play all the ropes here because it risks not having a plus buy next turn, but maybe that doesn't matter anyway. Certainly setting aside a province. I suppose anything we set aside is going to get discarded into the shuffle. Which means we could set aside good cards. So we could... We could even... If we just want to get a province... Well, we can get... But we can get 2 provinces. We should probably do that, right? Yeah. Wait, did I account for the forum money? I did not. I did not. Yeah. Nah. I don't like cursed very much overall. I think sometimes it's fine, but a lot of times it's not. Sure wish I'd gotten that hammer. And maybe then, if I'd got early hammer, would be like maybe the #1 thing that would let you really build a deck here. Because you could load up on ropes and flagships and swamp shacks with the hammer. Especially if you could like set it aside with tricksters so you see it more often. But even though the bot went harder for the grottos and lost, like it still meant that I got to have less fun playing this kingdom. Like, yeah, you don't really get to draw cards other than like the grotto set aside, and you don't get to like do anything with the actions. Mostly just like playing treasures and buying stuff. Like, I don't know. First is annoying that way. Maybe there was in fact time to build a deck because the bot didn't really have much like closing capability, you know. But if it had, like even at a province per turn though, I think it would have, like, the piles were low enough. It would have been a risk that if I'm like adding other stuff to my deck with these 2 piles empty, that the bot could just like, you know, only get a province or 2 and then empty piles if it had like a nice turn where it's set aside with a couple grottos or something. So yeah, not really a fan of that dynamic. I do get the thought process behind the design of like, oh, well, you get like the good thing and the bad thing, and so it kind of offsets. But the way that it lowers piles it's just too much, especially when it's on something cheap, right? Like if you had cursed, I don't know, trickster or something, and you wouldn't want to gain 5 tricksters, I don't think. But with this, yeah. Oh well. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.